Hi everybody, it's me, Susie Kadoozie, back with another episode of the Kadoozie Kast. Woohoo! And I'm in Los Angeles, Hollywood still, and I'm here with Harper Simon, the unbelievable musician, Harper Simon.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, thank you for coming.
I feel like we're in a studio, but we're not in the studio.
You do? Why? Because I'm so professional?
Because you just started, you turned it on, and then the show started, and we were in a show, but actually we're in a living room talking.
We're in my friend Katie Mack's living room talking, yes. But it's funny how it can just officially become a show, right?
Yep.
Well, everybody was like, Sue, you should do a podcast, And I was like, oh my gosh, it must be too technical. I can't do that. And all it is this little...
You got to get one of these professional gadgets.
That's it.
That you got here.
I went to B&H, and I talked to the guy, and he was flirting with me, and he totally hooked me up. He's like, don't get that really expensive one.
Really?
Get that one.
I need one in case I have to do another interview.
I think you should do your own podcast.
Podcast?
It's awesome because it goes right on the internet, and then there's no pressure. It takes on a life of its own.
Maybe I would like to do that, but I say that, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be committed to doing a podcast.
I think I'm committing you. I'm going to put you on my station.
I'm going to commit myself, and then it's going to be like, oh, why did I use myself to do this podcast?
Why did I make that commitment?
No, I know, because I know, I think, but then I realize everything requires real work.
It really does.
It's not... everything does.
I interviewed one of the guys from the Brooklyn Nets, and he started a foundation to help kids. And he was like, man, Sue, it's a lot of work. Everything's a lot of work. Yeah. This isn't such work for me, though, I have to say.
No, because you have your personality translates, and you're this brilliant comedian, and so this is just a facet of your whole creative persona.
Well, thank you for that. And yes, and I honestly love people. I love to find out what makes them tick, and I love to give them an hour of respect to talk about who they are, to actually, because other interviewers, whatever, they're always trying to get stuff, they're always doing all baloney, and it's like, well, why don't you just sit down with them? And also, not only is it being taped, but it's like we get to have an hour together.
Yeah.
I scheduled it, I made you meet me, and this is how I get to see everybody.
It's great. I love it.
All right, so...
I wish because this is going to be a fun one, and most of the time, it's not so fun. No,
I find that people are always trying to do, be funny by being mean, or try to expose something, or get a weakness, or... I don't think
they ask the same questions over and over. I'm just starting to do press and promo again because I have a record coming out in March. So it's that time for me now. I'm going to do it for the second time. It's my second go round of doing that out in the world because it's my second record. Mm-hmm. So I'm just starting that whole process of doing interviews and stuff.
Which is awesome, but they do ask you all the same questions. And I think it's because they don't... This is what I think. I don't know. I would imagine that they don't have the ability to handle anything that's not scripted or anything, so they have to keep it very safe. What would they do if what would they do if, say I asked you something that you didn't want to talk about? I would be completely comfortable if you got, hey, Sue, I don't want to talk about that. I'd be like, oh, okay. But I don't know if other people can do that. I enjoy that. I enjoy it on stage. I enjoy it everywhere. The fire.
I do it. I tell people, no.
You do? I was watching Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, someone sent me some of him, said he gets really riled up or something.
Oh my gosh, the guy he was either 60 Minutes or he was an English guy, and he was asking him about, the big question is well, do your violent movies play a part in the culture of violence here in the world today? Right. He does not want to answer it. But it was so fascinating because not only does he want to answer it, but he actually becomes violent.
He gets aggressive.
And the guy's just and then what they do is they prey on your weaknesses. I can see it from watching. I'm like, now then the guy's just fucking with him.
Right.
He's like, well,
exactly.
He's like, I'm I'm a journalist. I'm not just an interviewer.
Anyway, I don't know why. I mean, it's an interesting subject. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want to talk about it?
Well, and also my feeling is over time, hopefully you'll evolve as a person in some way or another and not just have the same answer or say no that's like a 4-year-old, no.
Yeah, maybe he was just feeling a bit. He was probably just feeling defensive, a bit attacked because his film just came out at a very sensitive time in the culture because of the Newtown tragedy, and maybe he was just getting a lot of it. And
that's actually a really good point because you think,
I imagine.
I don't know
him personally,
but that's a very like compassionate way to look at it. Like he probably was like, "Oh man." He has
probably all of a
for
sudden he thought he was going to go out and promote his movie, and suddenly everybody's asking him about
something that's a very horrific tragedy that's really living in the consciousness of the world. It's not just this movie that he made. So now he's like, no, I didn't really make a movie. I don't want to promote that.
Yeah,
it was always like a existential thing before that happened. Is what I'm.
My problem with the movie, my problems were more. It's not so much all the cartoon violence that I just when I went to the last Quentin Tarantino movie, I just thought the thing that he does, one of his signature moves is he likes humiliation a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a device, he uses it as a device, a cinematic device, and a writer's device. Whether it's in Pulp Fiction when Sam Jackson is, saying that quote from the Bible and everyone he's in the room and he's got the gun on everyone. There's a lot of deep humiliation that really is intended to make you. It's very effective. I understand that it's a very effective move cinematically as an audience to do that to your audience, to show a humiliation gets you emotionally. But I guess when I just went to this last one, I just felt I'm just kind of done with it.
Well, that's what I'm
done with it as a device, and I'm done with it. It's with Quentin Tarantino doing that to me. I understand that he's, I get it.
But that's what I mean. I feel like he hasn't evolved.
It's just like, I got to deal with that. I got to feel that feeling of someone's getting really humiliated by somebody else, and there's power over them, and they're gonna kill them or gonna bury them alive or some shit.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I can't.
It's just enough already for me.
But it is fascinating. Like people are fascinated. Like I always find that funny. Like I forget who was it. Kanye wore the Jesus crown, the thorns, on the cover of Newsweek or something, and then he was like, "I'm an artist." And it's like, well, you're an artist who put the crown of Jesus on your head. It's not, you didn't. Then you're on Newsweek or something. It just kills me how they're like, it's like, well, yeah, we're provocative in a way, but you have to have some semblance of why you're provocative or own it a little bit, or like, I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Because that's making a statement if you put the crown of Jesus on your head.
Gosh, I often wear a crown of Jesus. It never occurred to me. I thought it just looked good.
Well, from now on, you better talk about why you have that crown of Jesus on your head, the crown of thorns.
It's always, I thought it was a little bit provocative when I walk into restaurants and stuff.
All right, so we have to tell everybody about your music, but first of all, I want to talk about. So, do we tell people about what family you come from? Your last name is.
Yeah, you can. I
Simon.
guess.
You're Harper Simon. Your dad is Paul Simon. And you started... Well, I want to get back to like how you became a musician, but I want to talk about the night when you were playing in Brooklyn. Remember when you played in Brooklyn and then you let me introduce you?
No.
You don't remember? You must have had the crown of thorns on too tight on your head. That's the story of my life. It was so great for me, and you're like, no, so I don't even remember.
No, I don't remember. You introduced me?
Yes. You were like, Sue, will you bring me up? I'm like, yes, I'll bring you up. It was great. It was the greatest show you ever had. All right, so I brought you up, and it was a great. It was like, I want to say Williamsburg, or maybe a little deeper in. But it was an awesome show.
It was?
And Chuck Close was there, I remember that.
Oh, okay, I remember.
Oh, you remember Chuck Close, but not me.
Wow.
Are you friends with him?
Not really, no.
He just showed up at your show?
Yeah.
That's
actually
pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of awesome.
Because Chuck Close...
That's what I remember.
Let's tell people who Chuck Close is in case they don't know. He is an amazing. I don't even know what they call the art that he does, but it's the dots where he puts them very close together, and it looks like
I don't know.
Photograph.
Is that called pointillist?
Yes, pointillism. Yes, and he does it on a grid, and he is one of my favorite artists because he got the physical.
Yeah, he's paralyzed from the neck down.
But he's amazing because he did that in between his career, and then he rebuilt his body and kept going.
Yeah, and he's friends with my dad, and he told my dad that he was never really happy until after the accident. How about that?
All right, do you want to hear something? My friend in high school, freshman year, broke her neck and got paralyzed. It's part of my one-woman show now. I was in Nantucket this summer. I walk out of the hotel and I hear Sue Costello. And I turn around and it's Kristen. And she's in a wheelchair. And she's got her husband. And she's been paralyzed since we were freshmen in high school. She's like the not even the advocate. She's her job is to make sure that the American Disabilities Act is implemented all over Massachusetts. She was like a beauty queen, wheelchair beauty queen. And she told me, she said, Sue, do you know that they did a study of people that were that won the lottery or paralyzed, and the people that were paralyzed were happier with spinal cord injuries? Isn't that? I mean, we're such a culture of like, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to me. That's more miserable than actually something happening to you and dealing with it. I didn't know you knew him. He's always struck me because I always like to learn. That's why I like doing the podcast, because I like an artist and then I like to hear about their life, and then the depth of it makes me like them even more.
Yeah. No.
So he rebuilt his body and he put the wheelchair on the side of the wall. I mean, I've read all about him. And so now his pictures are bigger.
You probably know more than me then.
He's awesome.
Well, yeah, I agree.
At least you remembered him.
Well, I remember because I was surprised because I didn't invite him.
Oh, you did?
He did just show up.
That's cool.
So
that's what's cool.
It was kind of a trip.
Yeah, about living a life as an artist. All right, so I want to know about the music. Like, how'd you get into it? What happened? When did you decide?
Oh.
Do you remember?
Well, I mean, I started playing the guitar very young. I took guitar lessons and listened to records and learned to play the guitar kind of on my own. Then I went to college for music.
Yeah, you went to Berkeley?
Yeah, I went to Berkeley. Yeah, I lived in Boston.
Yeah.
For 2 years. And I don't know. I just started doing it so young. I didn't really think too much about the implications of it as a life or, anything really. And I was interested in writing and fiction, but I was really arrogant, and I only applied to 2 schools and 2 colleges, and I didn't get into either of them. So I went to Berkeley.
You were like, whatever, I'll get into one of them too. You gotta get.
I didn't know if I would, but I thought, I thought I was just so, I don't know. I was arrogant, I guess.
As most people are when they're young. No, maybe not.
Yeah, I was. So and it was all downhill from there.
No, it wasn't. Look at you now. You're on the Kadoozie cast.
Yeah.
No, so you applied. You wanted to fiction. For people who don't know, means pretend, not real, right? Fictitious.
Who doesn't know?
I don't know.
You think someone who listens to your podcast is fiction?
They might not know.
Really?
They might not know the difference. I feel like a lot of times people will never ask because they're a little nervous. No, you think I get like...
I think you're really underestimating your audience.
So you like to make up stories and write them. So did that translate over into the music? Yes, you write your own songs?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I guess it did. Because... well, I don't know. It took me so many years to be able to write lyrics to a song. And I only feel just now, like this record coming out, that I know how to do it. And that's the lyrics, I suppose, on my record are They have a lot in common with fiction writing.
So you don't pull from your real life, you do.
I pull from my real life, as all fiction writers do. But yeah, they're a lot of them are character based, and they're fiction. They're closer to fiction than to, I don't know, another kind of.
Like Taylor Swift.
I don't know what that is exactly. Taylor Swift. Is that called like a confessional?
That's what I mean. That's pretty as close to reality.
I don't know.
As
Does
you
she
can get, right?
really write about her life? I guess she does.
Her ex-boyfriend.
She does. She writes about her ex-boyfriend.
As soon as she breaks up.
Right.
And people make fun of her, but I figure her target audience is like a 13-year-old girl who that's all they think about.
Right. Well, I really can't speak to Taylor Swift because I don't think I've hardly ever heard any.
Yeah, what's the new one I love? Well, I only know from how they make fun of her. I wish they didn't make fun of her, but they do because they say that she
it's
talks
kind
about
of corny, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean,
corny.
it's what she does. And she has those young girls that just, I mean, when I was a 13-year-old girl, like boys and just heartbreak.
Yeah.
And it was just everything.
Right.
And so that's where she makes all her money. And she dresses nicely so the mothers don't have to worry about, her being gross.
They don't have to worry that their little girls are listening to Courtney Love or something.
Yes,
I think I prefer, them listening to Courtney Love.
Well, I guess, but I don't know.
When Courtney Love had that moment and suddenly it was like, oh, this whole generation of young girls were listening to Courtney Love and looking up to Courtney Love.
But I think they were
I felt
older.
that the future was going to be bright.
With Courtney
brighter.
Love?
Yeah, because she was, just take away all the self-destructive behavior. I felt she had good taste and was writing like smart. It was smart. Mm-hmm. I mean, for a mass mainstream thing when it happened, like. But 15-year-old girls listening to Courtney Love, I would, I would take over them 15-year-old girls listening to Taylor Swift.
13-year-olds with the Taylor Swift.
Either way.
But there was a big difference between 13 and 15. 13, you're well, maybe I'd say like 12.
Then, I don't care.
Well, 12, you're like heartbreaking, and then when you turn 15, 16, like maybe it's 13 and a half on. Then you get mad. Then you're like, rah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You're like, forget it.
So you mean that Taylor Swift, they're still in their, they're in their My Little Pony.
They're preteens, maybe.
They're in their My Little Pony phase.
Or like 9, 10, 11, around there.
All right.
And then Courtney Love would have been a little later.
How do I write for those people?
Who's your audience?
9, 10-year-old girls, but they don't listen to me. They listen to Taylor Swift.
They listen to Taylor Swift.
They don't understand that I'm writing for them.
But wait till they get a little bigger, then they'll listen to you. But wait a minute, who is your audience?
I don't have one.
You have me and Chuck Close.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I have a very small, very elite core of people paying attention to me.
Well, because you're just building. Like, how long have you been honestly, how many years?
This is my second solo album.
So that's not a long time yet, right? For it to be... I mean, I know from my own career, my gosh, it takes...
Yeah.
The cool part about having a career is also you feel like, oh, I did my first album, I did this. But what happens after... I mean, maybe it's not exactly how you wanted it to turn out or whatever. Eventually, after you've done a lot, it all comes together. That's what I never knew would happen with a career. You keep growing, you keep putting things out there, and then all of a sudden they want to go back to the first one and see that. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know, but I have a couple more in me, I think.
You do? And do they change? Is the first one different from the second one?
Yeah, quite a lot different.
In which way?
Well, because I set the tone all wrong in the first one. I really I think I sort of misstepped there. I had to dig myself out of a hole. I made some mistakes. So I tried to get back to a more truthful version of myself, I suppose.
When you say making mistakes, was it doing it for the industry? Doing it for the people?
I wasn't doing anything for the industry, but I think that debut album is important because it kind of sets the tone of what it's kind of your identity is Well, I don't know. People also, they do that and then they reinvent themselves in some other way.
That's what I'm saying about it. Like once you have a long career, like I had no idea that could happen. Like if something didn't work out, I'd be like, oh, I screwed up. That didn't work out.
Right.
And I think the true thing is to keep your talent and don't quit. Yeah,
I'll agree.
You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. Now, do you play? You don't play all by yourself.
No. No, I mean, I'll put a band. I'm trying to put a band together now to play live.
Mm-hmm. You want to go on tour? You are going.
Yeah,
on tour?
I'll go on tour if I get some good opportunities that come my way. But I'll have a lot of different people record on the record, and they're not all. I don't, exactly have a core band, but I had a core, me and the drummer, my friend Pete Thomas, who is a great drummer from Elvis Costello's Attractions. He played all the drums on my record. So him and I were sort of the core sound of the album. But Pete won't, he won't go on tour with me. He's too fancy.
He is?
Yeah.
I think you hate.
But he's going to play with me here in LA at the Satellite. I'm doing a residency at this club, the Satellite, in Silver Lake, free Mondays in March.
Oh, that's cool. Well, hopefully I'll be back to see you.
Yeah, I have to curate all the nights with different acts and stuff like that.
See, let's talk about that because I don't know if people understand that goes on too. So curating, it means that you...
Well, I have to choose, there'll be like 4 bands a night, and I choose all the other bands, and we're going to have maybe some cool... My friend Danny Perez, who does like all the visual backdrops for the band Animal Collective and Panda Bear, he's going to do, there'll be film stuff and different... I don't know, maybe some comedians or something.
Oh,
people.
If we're memorable.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. So if there's 4 bands...
Dan Aykroyd's going to come down and do something with me.
That's cool.
Dan
Aykroyd?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of, that's nice to know those people. That's a benefit of being from the family that you're from and from being as talented as you are. Or did you
he is somebody that I know through my family. I in a roundabout way.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up around Saturday Night Live when I was a kid in the 70s and stuff. But I don't know that that's really how I know Dan Aykroyd.
Okay.
It kind of is. I was friends with another SNL writer. Tom Davis, who died this year.
Oh.
Yeah, he was great. He was in the original group of writers there. He wrote the Coneheads, for instance. Wow. And was part of, with Al Franken, they were a duo, Franken and Davis. That was how Al Franken got to SNL. And he wrote with Aykroyd. They wrote the Coneheads together, and I guess other stuff. He wrote the other Aykroyd character. He's really sleazy. God, I can't believe I'm forgetting now. It's going to occur to me somewhere in the podcast.
It can come back to you. It's all right.
Yeah, it's one of his great characters from the early SNL.
But gosh, were they great back then, all of them. I watched those SNL, and that's part of the whole idea why I wanted to do the podcast. I missed that whole idea of
his name is E. Buzz Miller.
Oh, E. Buzz Miller. I don't think I know that one. No.
It's one of the highlights of the first few years.
And he was sleazy.
He's it's kind of like Access porno guy. He was sort of
right.
That kind of guy. He was all and they'll watch films of animals fucking and stuff like that, or here's a snail, 2 snails doing it, or whatever.
See, I feel like back then they had a lot of fun. They all, because it wasn't the pressure, probably
yeah,
the
I
same
understand.
thing, right? They didn't have the pressure of knowing what Saturday Night Live would become, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was really just a countercultural show at that point.
And was Jane Curtin on back then too?
Yeah, she's in the original.
God, they were funny. So he's going to come and do something.
Oh yeah, so I guess that's how I know Dan Aykroyd really, through Tom. Yeah, he's going to come down. He said he would.
And so you don't know which night or anything.
25th.
Oh, the 25th.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so it's at, what's this place called?
The Satellite.
The Satellite, and it's in Silver Lake.
Yep.
And it's going to be Monday nights, and you're going to have 4 bands. You're going to be the last one, obviously. You'll be.
I think I'm in the middle somewhere.
Oh, you are? I like that.
The third one. I'm
Oh,
not
good.
the last one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And so you have to. So you put the whole thing together.
Yeah.
And they just let you have carte blanche.
Yeah.
Decide. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. See, I don't know if people know that kind of stuff goes on, or if they just think that people go play in the band and then go home.
It goes on out here in the clubs. People often they do these free Mondays, and they give these residencies sometimes to people, and
so it's just like
fun because it's free too. So you try to put a special night together, and they usually kind of pack out because it's free.
Yeah, and
there's kind of an expectation because it's free Mondays, and there have been other good ones that have happened and stuff.
Oh, so you have to live up to the last free Monday, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And so then they probably make their money from the bar or whatever, and then you guys get the following, and it's win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
See, I don't think people understand that could go on either. Everybody's always about the buck. That comedy clubs are always like the buck. You gotta get the 2 drinks. You gotta get the 2 drinks.
Right.
They have people buying 2 drinks. Maybe there's only 10 people in the room when, in reality, you could do free Mondays and curate it. That's almost so artists. So when a painter is in residence, that's what they call it, artist in residence.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing with you. Mm-hmm. See, I love that.
Yeah.
See, that's why I did the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because they do it down. I mean, I've done a couple at Largo. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I know
Largo does residencies. I've done 2 there. They have a lot of comedy there too.
Yeah.
They have more comedy than music.
I did my one-woman show at the.
You did?
In the side smaller room.
Yeah.
Yeah. With what's his name there?
Flannery,
Yeah. He runs the whole shebang. I love that though, because you would think, I don't know if you would think that would happen as much out here as it would more in New York. I would think that's what I would think.
I don't know. It's been years since I lived in New York.
How long? Because that's where I met you.
More than a decade.
Oh no, I met you just visiting. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I just met you just visiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the second album's coming out when?
Yeah, March 25th.
March 25th.
Yeah.
Oh, that's soon.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is going to be perfect when this comes out. And so we'll have a whole shebang of what you talking about.
I'm gonna put myself back out there in the public sphere.
And it's always lovely, isn't it?
It's not always, but I'm doing it.
It's not always. The more you put yourself out there, the more feelings you have to have. I don't know if people understand that either. Like, they think like, oh, it's just smooth sailing. It's not. Even if it's good, it's still, you have to have a lot of feelings. Yeah,
you just try not to actually look or listen or pay any attention to. I don't read the press. The more I can if you go on TV, just don't even watch it. Just don't even look, and just keep doing lots of stuff, and don't even look back.
Right.
Because otherwise you'll just drive yourself insane.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, even if they're saying you're the greatest, it's like, you don't want to buy into that.
Doesn't matter
either.
what they're saying. Just keep gut through it, keep swimming through it, do stuff, whatever. Do what you have to do.
And handle yourself.
Perform and promote it, and do what the hell you have to do, and try not to, get too caught up in. Because you don't want to be listening to yourself on interviews and looking at yourself in our magazine or checking that out and I look bad there, or I sound like an idiot, or this person gave me a bad review, or you're always going to find fault in something, and it's going to drive you crazy. And that also takes you out from the creativity, because then you start. First of all, okay, and it takes you out of your spiritual path. Absolutely, because what I was going to say is that you're projecting onto what you're seeing. You think you look bad, whatever it is, you might not even look bad. And then you're going to change yourself to fix what you think is happening, and it's not even true. Which is not spiritual at all. Yeah, then on the other hand, I think, oh, well, it's kind of your job to pay a little bit of attention because you do sometimes want to learn from some mistakes. And if you don't know you made them, then...
Well, the way I do it now, which seems to work for me, is if like 7 people tell me the same thing, then I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because usually if a lot of people say it, you're like, okay, they must...
Yeah.
Because it is interesting because you want people to like your work.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, so how do you navigate this? But you also want to be like creative and I'm original and I'm speaking from my heart. So how do I do it? So I find now if I hear like a bunch of people saying the same thing, then I'm like, all right, I'll pay attention. Mm-hmm. And I don't get too high or too low if they tell me.
Yeah.
I'm too great or too.
Yes, I think that's good.
Because sometimes they'll tell you you're great and they're just saying it too. They don't even mean it.
Oh yeah, they're completely.
And also, I think that people look to artists so that we can be solid. That's why they're drawn to artists. That's why they're drawn, because they want we have a sense of what it is we want to put out into the world, and they latch onto that. They admire that. They like that. So if you start making that,
it's actually true. And I read a quote by Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth, and she said something like, she was talking about being on stage, I guess, and she said something like, people pay to see somebody believe in themselves. Because that's actually what they want to see. They don't want to look up on stage to see somebody who's full of self-doubt and not knowing if they're any good. They're paying to go there, and even if it's just even if the person's just faking it and it's a fantasy, they're paying to go up there to watch somebody believe in themselves and give that confidence out. That is part of the contract.
That is the simplest, most pure way for it to be said too. It's so funny because I grew up in Boston, Irish Catholic. So, don't show off, don't do this, don't do that. And meanwhile, halfway through my life, I'm like, Sue, you're a comedian. Like, that's what you do for a living. You're an actress. Like, you show off. Like, stop pretending. And I remember one time, just nonchalantly, I said it, not in an egotistical way. I just said something about my talent. Mm-hmm. And in the past, I would never have said that because I would have thought everybody would say, oh, what does she think she's cool? What does she...
Yeah.
So many people came up to me and they were like, I hope I can say my talent someday. Uh-huh. And I was like, oh, it inspires people. It doesn't make them think that you think you're too great.
Right. Yeah, I think it all depends on how you handle yourself, too. I mean, there's a way of... you don't want to come off pleased with yourself either, but...
No, well, sometimes I'm pleased with myself.
Yeah.
I really, really am.
Well, people may turn on you then.
No.
It's a fine line, I guess.
But I'm genuinely... Yeah. That's the best feeling, to not be like fully yourself, but just to be genuinely...
No, I'm always amazed too. I don't know, because I there's a couple people... There's one girl I knew just as a kind of... Not very well, but... And, I'd run into her and stuff, and, she was also a singer, and she'd, and I'd be like, how was I? Well, last time I saw you, I haven't, you were just going in to make a record, how did that go? And she'd be like, it was great. It's totally great. And I love it, she'd just be like, it's great. The record is so great, and I'd be like, wow, because you really actually... are pleased with
the actual experience
with yourself and your record. You think you're great. Like, that's kind of what you're selling me, and I guess I kind of envy you, because my feeling is, or maybe you're just saying that to me. But I didn't feel like she was. But I feel like I might say that to somebody. I probably wouldn't. But I mean, most of the time, I'm basically feeling like, yeah, I don't know if it's getting good or not, but I did it.
Right, showing up.
I mean, am I pleased with it? I mean, was it great? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think so. But I don't know if I have any perspective on it whatsoever. But that's not how she would say that to me every time in all sorts of different ways. And I would
all the time? It was never not good?
No, it was all the time. She just loved it. Loved everything. She loved herself so much.
Sometimes it has to be like I'm the first one to be like that. Like, how was that? And I'll be like, that sucked. Like, when I do my one-woman show, some nights it's just the whole setup, or like they'll screw up the sound or just beforehand or there'll be noise or there'll be whatever. And I mean, the performance might have been great, but I'll be like, that sucked.
Right.
Because I also feel like, how are you going to... Doing it any other way is not opening yourself up to people like that's being better than. Like, I like people to know that it's really hard sometimes for me to do what I do.
Yeah.
They always tell me that I don't look nervous. Do they tell you that?
Do you still get nervous?
I do still
doing
get
stand
nervous.
up a long time.
I still do. It depends. Depends on what... Yeah, some of the situations I can watch and go, oh my God. Like one night I was at the Laugh Factory up here. Saturday night, 10 o'clock show.
Uh-huh.
Packed. And this is where... The club is where Michael Richards freaked out. And the reason why he freaked out, in his defense, is because they have rafters at the top of the club. And so people hang over the rafters. So normally when you handle hecklers, they're in front of you. There's a whole craft to handling it.
Right.
So when they're hanging over you, it is absolutely, completely terrifying. It's just there's no terror like it in the world. So this Saturday night, it's packed. And Tosh walks in. And then you're like, uh-oh, he's going to go on and just kill because he's on Comedy Central. He is literally the demographic. He's like their idol. So it was supposed to be, there was a guy on stage. It was supposed to be another guy and then me. And so I'm sitting there and Tosh comes in. He goes on stage and he is just leveling the room, just killing, just the second he opens his mouth, right?
Right.
And Jamie Masada, the owner, comes over and he points at me and he goes, Sue, you're going to go next. And when I tell you, I felt like my stomach fell on the ground. Because not only, I was like, I wasn't even supposed to be next. The other guy was supposed to be next. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this, right? And so then Tosh closes his whole bit with saying, the reason why women in their 30s, the women should stop trying to have babies if they haven't had babies in their 30s. Because the reason why they didn't have babies in their 30s is because they were cunts. Good night, everybody. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to even go up there? What am I going to say? This is crazy. Like, he just shit on women and so I just walked in and they all wrestled a little bit like they were all going to go to the bathroom.
Well, what was the response in the crowd when he said that?
He left the stage, so he didn't really need a response. Whatever. Right. He got a clap for his whole thing.
Right.
So it was just a great... But the audience doesn't even get all of what goes on, the nuance of it. They don't know that I'm a woman sitting in the back and I have to go up there and handle it. And I think I just walked on stage and I was like, hi.
Yeah.
I said, hi, everybody. I'm Sue and I'm a cunt. And it literally leveled them. But that night... Great.
That one, you got that kind of dropped in your lap, actually.
I did if I didn't.
Thank God you thought quick, though.
That's what I mean, if I didn't react to the fear, because what used
Actually,
to
he handed you you couldn't ask for a better handoff in a way, could you?
Well, it was, yes, because it was in a way of leveling, being what's up? So in those situations, I'll tell you, I'm more pleased.
You made him look like a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's brilliant. Look at you. But you could have just not. I could have just not come to you.
Or I could have been a cunt and just been mad. Which is what really would have happened. You want to talk about the psychology of it all.
Right.
I could have been so scared that I walked on stage mad and bombed and fulfilled the...
Right.
That's the difference. Yeah. So yes, I do get scared. Right. Very scared when those situations like that.
Yeah, but that is so hard to... just to have to keep going on after another comedian and then another comedian. You have to keep just to go on after any comedian and try to be funny must be terrible.
Well, no, it's awesome. And what I was going to say is that night, that's when I'm pleased with myself more than any other night because it's more of a human growth thing as opposed to oh, they liked me and I was funny. That to me comes natural. But when Jamie comes over and puts me in the spot, it's almost must be like a pro ball player or something, in that kind of pressure. And I thrive in it. But you must to some extent too, because walking on stage and singing. I always think though with singing though, this is what I want to know the difference between stand-up and singing. With stand-up, we need to get immediate response right away. We need laugh. With singing, you don't get the clap until the end.
Yeah, and you basically have the whole set to win them all over actually, too.
You do?
Yeah,
but
there's an arc to it too. You're kind of, you're cresting up. You just have to win them over by the end of your whole set.
So when you go on stage, do you feel if they're not with you?
Yeah,
you do. Mm-hmm. And are there techniques to try to get them over, or do you just continue the same way and they eventually, or it's just the
I'm sure
talent?
there's a lot more techniques that I don't know about that I'd like to know about.
Well, next Kadoozie Cast, I'll interview someone else and I'll ask them what the techniques are, and then I'll text them to you.
I mean, it just depends. There could be okay, good. There could be all sorts of reasons. It just depends, you know. I mean,
like say they're just talking, say they're just drunk and talking. Is it because sometimes with stand up, what I do is I get much more quiet. Is there something to that or no?
I just plow ahead, you know.
You know, like you said, you have no perspective. You're like, I don't know if it was good or bad.
I can tell if I didn't have them in the beginning, and I might have got them by the end. That's you know.
And you have to be pleased with that.
I can tell if I kind of got them by the end, or just barely kind of got them by the end, or yeah, it's sort of the same. You can read it for sure. Mm-hmm.
And you can feel it inside your chest, regardless of whether...
You can feel it after every song, and you can feel it as it progresses through the set.
Now, what in terms of connecting with the audience and really feeling like do you have any memory of the best night that you've ever had on stage?
No, I don't think I do.
What about the worst? When I was there.
So many. I don't even know where to begin.
I love you. There's been so many. I really thought you were going to be like, oh yeah, there was this one time.
No.
See, that's fascinating.
I'd say they're
to me.
all bad.
That's fascinating to me. Okay, so what makes you keep going?
I have to do it. That's part of my job. I don't like it at all, to be honest with you. It's my least favorite part of the whole thing.
Is the live performing?
Yeah.
Because you have no control over it? Why is that? Because in the studio...
I just never felt it was my strength, you know. It wasn't my forte. But I am determined to try to kick up, you know, my game this time around. Yeah, try to get it better. I don't know.
Which is awesome.
What to do.
You don't know what to do? I would imagine it's the same as stand-up. You have to go on the road and you have to just keep doing it. No? Yeah,
I guess so. It's just that some people have, you know, real natural gift for performing more than others. I mean, some people are just, that's their thing, you know, like that's their strength. They're just like, they love performing, they love that spotlight, they thrive in it, they like to be at the center of the stage, they like to carry a show, that's what their whole thing is about, like that's their strength, and they may not have a strength in other areas. They may not like know how to make a good record or write a good lyric or anything, but when they get up on stage, they look great, and they talk to the audience, and they have that natural charisma, and that's just where their strength is, in that area.
Is there somebody that comes to mind that
lots of people that you come to mind. I mean, many, many people. Whoever you think of are, you know, the great performers or great entertainers. Yeah, certainly Mick Jagger would be one, but his talents are stacked up pretty high in all the areas, and that's why he's Mick Jagger. But you know, there's plenty. I'm not even sure where to begin with who to name. But I mean,
are there any people that have gone before you that are great?
There's just some people that are like that, you know. Or there are some people like I don't know, you know, Brian Wilson or something. You know, I mean, he's brilliant. His brilliance was in the studio, and that's why he stopped touring with the Beach Boys back in the day. He'd send them, you know, he'd make the record and he'd write the songs and he'd do the whole thing, and he'd send the Beach Boys out on the road to do it, and he didn't want to do it, you know. I mean, maybe he didn't like it. And actually, I opened up for Brian Wilson a few years ago at the Disney Hall and stuff, and I mean, I've seen him a number of times. I like to see him, but I mean, he just gets out there and sings, sits on the stool or sits at the piano and sings the song and stuff. He's never gonna like. And you can tell he's like he's just a bundle of nerves up there. You know what I mean?
There's a couple of famous people.
I mean, he's like looks frozen up there. It's like obviously it's not his thing or whatever. I mean, of course you want to go anyway just to hear those songs and that voice and stuff. But it's not his strength, and he's not his thing. You know, it's just he's not like good at being a frontman or carrying. It's just not his strength. His strength was composing, writing the songs, being in the studio, making these brilliant records.
And you hear that there's a lot of famous people that have stage fright, which I feel like that would just be torture if you had stage fright and you were on stage all the, like I can't even.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the moment once they're over it and they're on stage, that joy or something. Because I'm like, what? It just seems like torture to be afraid all the time.
Don't they just mean that they get nervous?
Some of it's crippling though, like so painful, like every time.
Wow. Yeah, Linda Ronstadt's like that apparently.
Yeah, can you imagine? Like, and then so it must be once they're there, the joy of something must keep them going, and otherwise it's just sadistic. Because I still get, especially when I do my one-woman show, like during the day, it takes a lot of energy for me to do it. So I get
right.
I think I get nervous. I get nervous whether people are going to come, the whole thing, like all that stuff that goes into it too.
Right.
But the thing that they teach you in stand-up is that you should, and in acting actually, is you should not push down the nerves. You should invite it. If you're nervous, you should let it swirl around. Because if you push it down, then you become flat on stage.
I was actually thinking lately maybe it would be interesting or helpful for me to... I wished I had a little acting coaching. I mean, not because I have any desire to act. That's my idea of hell. But...
It is?
Yeah, but only just that I thought it might help me in some other area of just like knowing how to. I thought maybe the acting coaching might help me, have more presence on the stage or know how to like handle myself better and carry the show or something better.
Or improv or a stand-up class. I always think everybody should try stand-up no matter what, even if they don't.
I did take an improv class years and years ago once. Yeah.
And I love the idea of the philosophy of life. It almost matches life where you can't say no.
Uh-huh.
You always have to say yes or else the thing dies and it's dead on arrival. And you have to be like, yes, and. Yes, and. Because that's the other thing. When I like to go to watch bands, I like to think, singers, I'm like, how much interaction do you do with the crowd? How much do they talk? Do you not talk? Does it become your thing that you don't talk? Like there's a lot of nuances to it.
I tend to not talk very much, and I'm always being encouraged to talk more. Mm-hmm. Because people like it when you talk.
Yeah, because
they like you to engage. I mean, people really script their stage patter and stuff, and work very hard at figuring out how to do it. And I suppose I'll try to do that this time too.
No, it's so funny because I'm already thinking about. I'm coaching you right now as we're doing the Kadoozie cast. I'm like, because there might be something to capitalizing on the fact that you don't like it. That's what I mean by like admitting it. Then you break
I just never feel loose up there, I just never feel. There's something about. I'm just always self-conscious. I can never just shake it off and just like have a good time up there. Mm-hmm. I'm always just feeling like I don't like, everyone's looking at you, and I'm thinking about everybody else on the stage. And if somebody makes a mistake, I'm always getting thrown, or I'm trying to stay on key, and I'm never like. Just having fun. Mm-hmm. I just don't.
What about videotaping your show and then watching it back? Well, that just, I know, but the football players do it. I'm telling you, but the football players do it. I'm going to do it, I guess. I'm going to do it. Do you know how many tapes they watch? Do you know how many tapes the football? That's when I realized I had to do it. Those football players go back and watch those tapes.
I feel it's not as painful for them.
Because it's not their emotions. Yeah, they have equipment on and they're just, but still, can you imagine, what if you're like, one of the greatest quarterbacks and then you're having a bad year? You still have to watch that tape to see how you can get better, and you have no idea in your head that it's ever going to get better. They still have to, like, it's easy to say, I don't think it's the same. Do
you think people do that with their own sex tapes?
Maybe, but I think that would be really... Everybody, will you email me at sue@suecostello.com and tell me if you do that with your sex tape, because I really would like to know. Pause it. Go back. That move is not good. We gotta do another one. I don't think so, because the sex is not nobody's watching it necessarily. The reason why you have to do it with the game. The game is you want to get better at your game so you can win. Maybe you're onto something. See, that would be something funny for you to. You're funny.
Sketch writers.
This is what kills me, is that you're naturally funny. Is that you're naturally funny, so you would be able to do that on stage. If I didn't think you were funny, I'd be like, oh, maybe you should get a drummer that can talk.
Yeah.
When you're putting together that band, let's make sure that the drummer can do the talking.
Yeah.
Because there might be something to that, too, though. All right, well, it was awesome talking to you. And talking with you, I should say.
Thanks. I feel like I didn't get to say enough interesting stuff.
You were awesomely interesting.
I got distracted with stuff that's going to be boring to your listeners.
It's not. Now you're going to unravel. That's not going to be boring. I think it's fascinating, all the stuff that goes through. You don't think it's fascinating for regular people at home to hear that even though people go out and they sing and they do all this stuff, but that they still get nervous or that they're shy? Like, that to me is like, what people love it. Because they think that they're weirdos, that they're shy, they could never be a musician, because what if they're too shy or they're too nervous?
I still wish I was funnier on your show.
You were hilarious. But I definitely think you should get some jokes in there. And I don't think that it has to be necessarily so scripted.
You know what would be good is if I should have a like a ventriloquist dummy.
No. You should have somebody who knows.
I could do a little ventriloquism in between songs.
You should have somebody who knows you, write some things, loose things, not so strict, because I don't think it's good if it's so rigidly scripted.
But you just gave me a good idea, though. I think I should have a ventriloquist at my residency at the Satellite.
There you go. You can play there.
That would be dope. Let's face facts.
Let's face facts. There's something about being that playful that will help you be more playful. So anything, like if you just do it, so what? It's Monday nights. Play with it.
That's why I'm trying to start to tweet, but nobody pays attention. I only have 200 people following me because I only started a week ago.
Well, that's
why. But only like 3 people join a day.
That's all right. It'll grow.
Nobody's paying attention. And
they
then
will.
I'm
and now we're going to
all
tweet.
This time
No,
making
it's
up
good.
These,
it's the same as my
these
podcast.
tweet jokes.
Just keep doing it. It's just like your first album. Yes, but
I realized I was a little bit of a frustrated comedian, and it was coming out in this new Twitter experience.
It's all good. All right, tell me when the album comes out.
The album comes out March 25th.
And what's the name of it?
It's called Division Street, and I'll be performing at the Satellite on Silver Lake Boulevard every Monday in March.
Awesome.
I'm tweeting my ass off.
What's your Twitter handle?
Harper J. Simon.
Harper J. Simon. At Twitter.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Sue.
I'll have you back again.
Okay,
we'll talk about more. We'll talk about how the jokes are coming. All right, awesome.
Bye.
Bye.